Plot: Music in Darkness, 1948. Written by Claudio Carvalho. In Sweden, the upper-class pianist Bengt Vyldeke suffers an accident in the military drill and becomes blind. He returns to the house of his aunt Beatrice Schroeder and is initially supported by his sister Agneta since his fiancée Blanche has called off their engagement and his friends have abandoned him. When Agneta goes to the university, the young servant Ingrid helps Bengt in his daily life and falls in love with him. Bengt travels to play piano in the restaurant of a cunning manager and finds humiliation and loneliness. Years later he meets Ingrid, who has studied and is near to graduate, and he falls in love with her. But Ingrid has a boyfriend, Bengt Eklund, strong and handsome, and Bengt has to fight with his inferiority complex first to win the love of Ingrid. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over dramatically touching people's faces. Or maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular generation. From tunnel vision to your television. And do they off this movie with audio descriptions? They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen Viking.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to Citizen White Cane, the podcast that offers a film education on blind representation with a thoughtful narration by hosts who've received at least one of the COVID vaccination. My name is Scott Cloud.
I'm Melissa Bukta.
You
did it.
I had originally written that we are fully vaccinated, but
Tomorrow we'll officially be fully vaccinated tomorrow. Very excited.
You have been fucked around by healthcare.
Yes, I have.
Story of disability.
Terrible.
Turns out.
It's been terrible. It's been absolutely. I have been railroaded at every stopping point to get this vaccine. It is ridiculous how hard it has been for me to get it.
And it's almost like you deserve it more than the average person.
I mean, I don't want to say I deserve it more, but I deserve it more.
But disabled people deserve it more.
Disabled people should go first.
If you are at higher risk of getting like complications from COVID, you deserve it more.
Right, or have a pre-existing condition.
Yeah, exactly.
All of the categories which we fall into. So
yeah.
Anyway, but that's another story for another time. Luckily, I am getting the vaccine tomorrow.
Yes, so we're almost fully vaccinated. I'm very excited. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today, even though I put it in the our tagline. It is Music in Darkness.
Yes.
That is what we're talking about. It is a film from the 40s, actually, which I had seen that it was listed as from the 60s somewhere, but I think it must have just been released in the US or something at some point.
Probably, because I mean, you look at the people in the film, this is clearly shot and made in the 40s.
I know. I was like, this is not the 60s. There's no way this is. Yeah. So, but because it is one of the first film directed by
Ingmar Bergman, the Seventh Seal fame, and many, many, many others. Famous. Incredible Swedish film director. This is, or director of Swedish film. Yeah. This is one of my first true forays into Bergman's work.
Yeah, I feel bad because it's also mine, and so I feel like we're not coming to it with as much. Like, weirdly enough, Seven Seal was never like fully in film school. I never was told I actually had to watch it. I think we would talk about it, but I never actually had to watch it.
I watched it for a cinema history class, but that was years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember having a good time, and it was weird and interesting and fun to watch because of just the way it was shot and the starkness of the cinematography and each shot is an icon, basically is iconic.
Yeah.
This film definitely feels like early Bergman. I mean, just No, and I'm not saying it because it's bad, but like comparing it to the other films that he has made afterwards, yeah, this is in the beginning, because when I'm going to call him Ben, I know that's not how the other characters pronounce his name, but I don't know how to do it. I don't speak Swedish, so I'm calling him Ben for now. Ben is his name.
Yeah.
But when he initially goes blind at a military testing site through an error of his own, we get this really cool, kind of amazing mishmash of images. This weird pastiche. There's like eyes and angels and him in the middle, and it's just super weird. And I'm like, oh God, yes, this is what I signed up for. This is gonna be so great. It's gonna be shot so interesting and weird. It's a melodrama. It's your standard like romantic melodrama.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, like he's romantic, but also just kind of. It's just a person going blind, sort of, and being mad.
Right. Oh, I guess you could say character study because we're focusing on.
Yeah,
Ben,
it's kind of a character study. It's such a meandering. Like that's the weird thing is it doesn't fully fall into any box, but not in like a cool subversive way, but more like a. Yeah, I guess it's a melodrama. I guess it's a character study, sort of. Like, I guess the story has, like, some traditional beats of, like, a romantic story. And, like, but it's just, like, none of it fully, like, it's not even, like, super specifically one genre. But it's also just not, like, a fun mismatch, I feel like. It just kind of feels like it never fully had a thing to do.
Yeah,
almost.
I'm really lukewarm on this. I don't hate it. I don't think it's a bad movie. I wasn't utterly bored to tears while I was watching it, but after the past two movies being so like hyper focused and engaged, and then to get here and it's like
it's very meandering and just kind of like
I had a problem with I had a lot of trouble gauging the passage of time.
Yeah,
in this movie, and
I think it's because it's confusing.
Yes, and it's linear for the most part. It's told linearly.
Yeah, I think it's almost entirely linear.
Yeah, but nothing is broken up as to how many years has gone by or when the time has changed. And I'm not saying I need title cards. Chapter 1, 3 years later. I don't need to be spoon-fed information, but I felt like I was always having to run and catch up.
Yeah,
because the movie was always 2 steps ahead of me.
But not in like a fun way.
No, not in a fun way.
Just like, kind of like you're like, oh, so okay, I guess this must have happened. But it's like, I guess it makes sense. We don't really need to see him like be so sad that he was ripped, ripped off basically in his job because he's blind, and then and then so time passes and you're like, I guess it doesn't technically matter how much time has passed, but then sometimes it does matter for the plot, and you're like, oh, okay, so I was like, oh, I thought this was probably only like 6 months later, but I feel like it's probably years later given what's going on.
Years later. It's gotta be. Yeah, and I guess it works for and against the movie because you are seeing like the leanest version of this story possible. There's no fat in here. Every scene matters. There's nothing that feels bloated or
you're not like dwelling on something so long.
Right. It's just like boom, 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 boom. Like it has a story to tell. It's gonna do its thing, and then it's over.
Right. But the problem is, it never lets you get really interested in the character either.
Right. Yeah, you're never really acclimated to a certain period of time before the movie just decides to jump 7 years in the future.
Right. Because we have, so he goes and rescues when he goes blind because in the war, he rescues, is it a cat or a dog?
It's a puppy.
It's a little puppy. For some reason in my head it was a cat. I saw it last week, but then I was listening to something that was saying it was a dog. I was like, oh, it must have been a dog.
No, it's a little puppy.
And which is very cute. And like also like, why was there a puppy in the middle of a trench warfare?
I don't know.
So weird.
Why? But he saved the puppy.
He saves the puppy.
and in
in
doing
the middle
so.
of crossfire. I'm like, you're a soldier. You know that you're going to get shot obviously.
But it was a really cute puppy.
It was cute. But still, let's get our puppies out of our trenches.
The puppy should not have been in the trenches.
But yeah, so I mean, the most interesting war veteran going blind story that we've had so far. Saving a puppy.
I mean, how do you tell? How do you how did you go blind? Well, I was at a military testing site, and there was this puppy. I just had to save this puppy. It was the cutest puppy I had ever seen. Coincidentally, it was the last thing I had ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. But then he doesn't really do any of that reminiscing, and he doesn't really bring up the puppy again.
Not at all.
It's never, and I don't even think it's really a window into his character in the end. Like, it feels like it should be, but then it just isn't.
Because it's like, okay, he feels so, like, he must have a big heart. He feels so much for this puppy that he knows he's got to save it, even though it could cost him his life.
Right. But then it's just like so much toxic masculinity in all the different ways throughout the movie. So you're like, okay.
Yeah, so we're like, okay, wait. This
Where's
is
your
so
heart?
Contrived.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, all right, I guess he's blind now. Great.
And he's mad because he starts out being kind of like, I went blind, blah, 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 mad. Which, whatever.
I can't do anything. Yeah.
Which it's annoying that's at the beginning of the movie, and by the end he's not really like that, but I felt like it was so extreme so early on that I kind of made it so I didn't really like him to begin with, and he never really regained my trust after the puppy thing. Obviously, I like that.
Right, of course, yeah. Well, that character trait just kind of sort of fizzles out in the movie, and it's not necessarily because I don't feel like it's because he's changing necessarily or coming to accept it. It's the whole thing ends up kind of centered on Ingrid.
Yeah, it's way more about Ingrid than anything, and especially in the latter half of the movie, because she's in the end, love interest who starts out, though I mean it's kind of obvious when she's introduced that she's going to wind up being the love interest.
Duh, she's this absolutely drop-dead gorgeous woman with like perfect blonde hair and amazing costumes, and she's just fucking perfect.
Must have been a child given in the end at the time we have, like, or once we get a sense of what's going on.
Right.
Like,
He's
she must have been a child.
He's like, you were a child when I met you, and I was like, no, she was not.
She definitely does not seem like, but she is his blind tutor.
Yes, starts out as a servant and then is just really clever and just learns Braille. Just in like two scenes, learns the entirety of Braille.
And I was like, during this movie, I was like trying to look at the textbook. I mean, not look at, but look at with my finger, like the textbook I just got for my Braille class. And I was like, just trying really hard to like read any of the letters at all. And then I see her, like, I'm doing this during the movie, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? She just like learned it in she didn't even do anything.
She's leaving him notes, and he's like, you're learning in 5 minutes what has taken me years to learn. And I'm just like, oh my God. Well,
and I was like, I guess he's right. It took him years to learn. I was like, that I believe. But.
Well, so one of the few times I actually really did identify with Ben's character, especially when he's doing the Braille, is when he was reading, and he can only read, little words and at so, really slow pace. That was the hardest thing for me about learning Braille, is hearing, feeling so limited, and then hearing my own really awful, broken, choppy voice read these really simple books, and it would take me 20 minutes just to read a couple of sentences. And yet I could, grab a book or grab Harry Potter, or I could grab Bedknobs and Broomsticks, or, just a book with lots and lots of words and read it no problem. Well, print size, but that is a really, I get it. That's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. I never could read, so the idea of getting to read it for realsies, I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
But yeah, that's partly because I didn't, like, reading was always a problem when I was a kid as well, just because I couldn't see it, and I was undiagnosed, so.
Right. But I just became really upset and angry at myself, just because the person's voice that I was hearing reading these kids' books wasn't mine. It didn't feel like mine. It didn't feel like me. It had felt like I had just completely regressed so far. And what I was too young to, realize or figure out is that, yeah, I was a baby in a sense. I'm learning Braille. I'm learning a whole new language.
Well, it's like when you learn a language, you're like, I have the vocabulary of a 4-year-old.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean you're not an adult.
Exactly. And, in Spanish, in Spanish class, my teacher would have like little buckets of, little simple kids books.
Right.
And those, like, getting through those and actually understanding what was going on felt really triumphant.
Yeah.
But they were still like, can dog go? Yes, dog go. Pam likes trees. Pam goes up tree. Cat come with Pam. I mean, they're just really, really, really simple books.
Right. But I think that's like a growth mindset is important to have. But yeah, I get, like, when you become disabled, especially as an adult, it would probably be difficult, too, to have to adjust to everything. Mm-hmm. No, I don't know. The way he was behaving also was just like, you are unnecessarily petulant about that. Like, there was, like... Yes, I understand that, like, I think, like, we've had a few different things with, like, At First Sight also had a thing of, like, not being, like, having to learn how to read again, or, like, feeling stupid because of that. Like, that's, and that does make emotional sense. But some of it, he was just like, I hate being blind, it was just, like, almost kind of just like, okay, well, you're not, like, trying at all. Like, you're just kind of being annoying.
Well, and through the movie, or through the first part at least, he's finds out he's actually a really gifted musician, and ends up playing organ.
One is a state we live in.
Yeah, my brain just like went whoops.
No, it's okay. I can't speak today either. It's good we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, it's perfect. Oh, Mondays are weird. Okay. Ben gets called in to play organ at the church for a funeral service.
Right.
And he finds out that, hey, oh my gosh, he's got kind of a knack for this. Well, why doesn't he try playing the piano? Oh, he's got a knack for that. He's got a knack for that. Well, okay, that's good. So, okay, he's got a purpose. Okay, great. So he's going to go audition for the Royal Academy of Music. And I thought that's what this was going to be about. Okay, sure. All right. But apparently he doesn't make it, but it's also not explicitly stated until like well way after that he didn't actually make it. So I'm sitting there going, but did he make it?
Right. It just kind of like goes off into the next, right, where he's working for
the crooked restaurant owner.
Right.
Yeah.
And where he gets ripped off and is getting less money, which is a real problem, though. I know in Denmark, because when I was in Denmark, I know that all the dollars are different sizes for blind people.
Yeah, a lot of European money is. A lot of money around the world is.
Yeah. America fucking sucks.
I know. America, all our bills are the same size.
We have
and they're
inaccessible
all pretty much the same color. Yeah.
And the coins are actually like pretty inaccessible as coins go. They are like what is it, the nickel and the quarter that are really difficult to decipher between the two?
Yeah, I get nickels and quarters confused all of the time. Although I think the quarters have raised nubbies around the edges, but I'm not sure.
There is a way to tell, but it's super hard. And a lot of times I actually need to have all the coins to be able to tell the difference. So I just don't use cash because I just am like, that's not accessible to me. And I'm terrified I'm going to get ripped off. Right. I'm like, I probably would. So yeah, it's fucked up.
Well, even the money in Costa Rica had Braille on it, which is really cool. Like, oh my God, you just have US. Braille on your money. Oh my God. Yeah. And the US gets one Braille coin that's a limited edition, special edition printed by the U.S. Mint, and they're like, it's the first piece of money with Braille on it. Oh, holy shit! I'm like, well, good for you. You made one special edition coin that I can't even spend. It's okay. As coins go, it's a really cool coin.
Yeah, but then you should make it all the coins if it's so cool.
Yes, and it actually just says Braille on the back of it. It doesn't even tell you what the value of the coin is. It just says Braille.
Well, I guess because it doesn't have a value.
I'm joking. Yeah, it just says Braille.
In Braille.
It says Braille, but it's got a little picture of like a kid reading a Braille book on the back of it, and it's got Louis Braille on the front, so it's okay. It's cool.
Isn't he French?
Yes.
It's not even American.
No.
love the idea of being like, we're making everything accessible. We're putting Braille on everything, and then it's just literally you're putting the words Braille and Braille on everything.
It might as well just say Braille coin on the back of it.
Just be like, you're going to the bus stop and you want to see what bus it is. It's just like Braille, and they're like, we put Braille on the sign. You're like, it just says Braille.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's so bad. Oh yeah.
But I think that's really cool about other countries' money is a lot of it is different sizes, different colors.
But not Sweden at this time.
Apparently. Not. No, because
unless he was getting paid in American dollars, which would have also made sense.
Yeah, because when he goes to pay for lunch, he opens up his wallet and tells his friend to take out tens, and his friend is like, "Well, there was only fives in here. I wish I could, but there's only fives." And
he finds out he's getting half the pay he's being told he's getting.
Exactly.
It's bizarre that he has not found that out before by like giving it to a clerk.
Right.
Like this, like the clerk's like, this is $5 or $6 or something, and he's like giving in there like, oh well, you still need more money. Like, how has that not happened to him before? Very weird, but yeah.
This reminds me. Okay, I feel like I'm the only person on the planet who watched this show, but it was one of those weird hidden camera shows called What Would You Do? But this wasn't like a funny hidden camera show. This set up like they called them social experiments.
I think I remember this, where they would like people would. You'd have something where you're supposed to stomp the person in the street. Yeah.
And they came up with all kinds of scenarios, and one of them was a blind person at I think it was a bakery they staged it in. That doesn't matter. Point is the blind person would set it up so that the blind person was checking out, and the clerk shortchanged them on purpose. And
how would someone be able to notice that was going on is the real question.
I know. Well, this is before COVID times or whatever. Oh, I know how. So the blind person would get the money from the clerk, and then as they were walking out, they would stop someone and just have them like, can you tell me how much I was handed back? Because I was supposed to get X amount of dollars.
What if we just did that every single time?
And I mean, good on most people. Most people like were honest and stood up for the blind person and was like, "Hey, you shortchanged them. You should probably, not do that."
Pretty basic when someone's literally being like, "Hey, is this a scenario that's shitty for me? Like, could you verify to make sure that like that you're just kind of handing it to people at that point."
Oh yeah, no, definitely. This was a gimme.
That was so funny. That's so funny. But were there people who were just like, "Oh yeah, that's right," like trying to? I mean, like, it's a store owner.
Right. I honestly don't think there were. I truly don't think that people were. I think there were some people that ignored the blind person and just kept walking. Okay. But most of the people who were actually stopped were like, no, you have $3 there and you're supposed to get like $20 back in change.
And then would the blind person be like, oh, they said I was,
Yes.
And then they were, what's the thing they had to then confront?
Yes.
Okay.
Were they going to confront the shopkeep and be like, "Hey, did you mess up or did you purposely do that? You really shouldn't do that."
I like how the blind person can't do that. Can't speak up for themselves either, too.
I will have to find it. I'm sure I can find it on YouTube or somewhere because
But in this movie,
yes,
it's the employer that's shortchanging, and then there's just there's a whole confrontation. You watched it this morning.
Right.
I'm trying to remember exactly what happens.
He has this like little snot-nosed kid that's like he's living with, or he's guiding, the kid is guiding him or some shit or whatever. And he finds out that he's being robbed at his job basically, and then goes home to confront the kid, and apparently the kid is also robbing him or something.
Yeah.
So this leads to a really awful confrontation between him and the kid, and he basically gets the kid and like is attempting to beat the shit out of the kid, and then his mother comes in and is like, "I'll call the police. Get out!"
Right, and the kid's like a little shitter.
The kid is a little
fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, the kid is an asshole. Yeah,
yeah.
Not saying he deserves to get beat up, but he's an asshole.
He's an asshole. Yeah, but then it's just kind of bizarre because I guess the kid, that was also confusing to me. I'm like, is his work like? I guess is it that the kid is the one who's paying him for his work? Maybe.
No, I don't think so. I think it's the that restaurant owner who's paying him.
But then that's what I never understood.
Maybe Ben is paying the kid for like his services or something. And the kid is like, I
is
want
also
more 'cause
stealing
I'm a
money.
kid. Maybe.
Oh, is it the kid is replacing the money for smaller? Oh, I think that might be it. I don't know.
What?
It's
Okay,
the whole thing.
maybe.
Where the kid is like, but doesn't he just suffer discrimination in his work? Isn't that part of the plot later on? I don't know. That part did, and like in the middle, I was like, what is going on? A little bit during that part.
Yeah, I ended up just writing the kid off because I'm like, you never see him again. He never.
Well, yeah,
he never
you see him
comes
like
back.
one time, basically, in that scene. I think. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really keep track of that kid. I was confused by that whole thing. But yeah, so then he's out of a job. He's like now he's at a blind school. It doesn't really make a lot of. The leaps are kind of confusing.
No, I honestly didn't clock he was at a blind school until we see him comforting another gentleman who has just gone blind, who is missing his wife.
Right, but they're reading Braille in a room at one point before that.
Ah, okay. Well, yeah. I did not put two and two together.
This is where we explain the plot to each other.
Yes. Well, and by this point, Ingrid has come back into the picture. And is like, I'm a teacher now. I'm studying to be a teacher, and it's
life she's studying to be one.
Right, and I've got a boyfriend, and life is pretty good.
Because I'm like, reaching, even though I was born into a poor family, and I'm told I couldn't be anything more.
And I mean, maybe we're seeing their two stories because we're supposed to see them side by side. She's from a poor family, he's blind, and yet in the end they accomplish the fact that they end up together.
Yeah, we have to assume that. Well, also, like, what is his future is the other question. He's at the blind school. Does he have, like, a goal that he wants to do?
Not really. He didn't. I thought that he wanted to be a musician, but that didn't really pan out. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to be a teacher, but he kind of has begrudgingly begun to insert himself into that world.
Yeah, they both are kind of a little bit just kind of like, we're going to try to make it work. It'll be harder if we're together, but we want to be together. And then they try to convince the vicar, who has a problem with her being too young. Does he have a problem with him being blind? I can't. Like, it's kind. I think, like, doesn't he have like a little bout of like weird, like, ableism?
She's too young and you're blind.
Right.
You know, how on earth do you think you're going to actually start a life together? You know, what are you actually going to do?
Right. And then it's like, okay, dude, whatever.
Right. And then there's not really a concrete answer given. It's just, well, we love each other.
Yeah. And she's like, well, I know that I want to be with him. Mm-hmm. And does she have like a weird excuse or something?
I don't think so.
I don't remember. There's something, because she's supposed to be going, and he's like, isn't this going to affect your schooling? And I feel like she has some weird thing where she's like, why she knows that he's the right person for her. Maybe that they met a while ago or something. I don't know. The whole thing is very contrived, but I mean, that's the very end of the movie. We're kind of jumping around. Mm-hmm. Before that, we have this whole section where she's in school and comes back into Ben's life. And she has a boyfriend now. Mm-hmm. So he's like competing with this guy who's kind of a douche, but also just kind of like, I don't know, he's just kind of there most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, he gives off very, like, douchey, masculine, controlling energy.
Right, and then sometimes he's just kind of the other guy, and he doesn't really have that much of a personality.
In the love triangle,
yeah. So that's kind of like, but then they're both kind of being douchey, and so she's just like, why are you fighting over this? Like, you're both so immature, I think. I don't know. What is this movie?
I mean, God, it just was kind of a nothing burger of a movie. To be honest, I really don't... I could care less about any of the characters in the movie. I really didn't have a whole lot invested in Ben's story, and not because I didn't buy him as a blind person for the most part, or by his blind story. I just, There just wasn't very much to grab me.
Yeah.
There's nothing new being done. Like it's funny, all the cliches, him falling over because he's getting lost, or him losing his cane, or I'm like, we're in the 40s and we're still making these decisions.
Yeah. But I mean, we have the context of
right. Oh, the fact that he's like, Ingrid and I can never be together, so he decides to throw himself in front of a train.
Is he doing that on purpose? I couldn't even tell.
He was angry. Like, he was very angry when he left, and I think part of it is he didn't know where he was.
Yeah, because I think that's part of it, and he was disoriented, and I was like, is he gonna die?
Right.
And then he doesn't.
No, someone saves him. And I'm like, okay, I get that you're disoriented. I get frustrated and disoriented all the time, sure.
But walk in front of a train.
I've never been frustrated or disoriented to walk in front of a train.
Yeah, that's just like you're also, you're at a train station.
Exactly. You've come to see like your love off, or you come to the train station.
Right, he's coming with his blind friend from the school who's seeing his girlfriend who's coming in.
His wife. His wife is coming in.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, what happens is they formed this like bond together or whatever, and then all of a sudden his wife comes back and they're just like
goodbye.
We're gonna go without even a word of goodbye or thank you or whatever.
But the terrible thing is the friend is like, you have to come. I don't know. My wife is gonna hate seeing me like this. It's gonna be terrible. You have to come with me. And then they instantly are like, oh, la, 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 and then they abandon him.
Okay, bye. And then he's just like, that is the last straw. I don't want to be here anymore. Because
he's like, doesn't want to be at the train station anymore. But
he doesn't
necessarily
necessarily.
Clear if he wants to die.
Right. He just kind of.
He's just mad,
very angry and upset, and finds himself in the wrong place.
And he wanders around on train tracks for a long time with a lot of staff very close by.
Right, and
you would think someone very early on would be like, oh, blind person with a cane. Like, doesn't he have a cane for most of it?
Yes, and you'd think that he would feel the damn train tracks
with
his cane.
Exactly. He
can
do it. Like, he could definitely feel the train tracks with his cane. He's just not. And then, but just, stumbling around. And then there's a bunch of bystanders who eventually do something, but, for a while can easily see that he's just wandering around, and they're not doing literally anything to get him off the train tracks, which seems ridiculous considering how it's not that hard. If a blind person is in a train track and there's not a train instantly coming, it's not that hard to be like, hey, we need to get you off the train tracks.
Right. And I guess if you wanted to see this as a metaphor, there's a shot of him running towards the camera and the train is in the distance behind him. If you really were trying hard, you could read into it, his life choices and his he's been running away from blindness for all his life, for since he's become blind. He's been running away from blindness, and now he really has to actually stop and try and move on and
get off the train tracks.
Get out of the way so the train can come through. He's got I
see know. He's still holding back on just accepting his blindness. So he's gonna get allow the train of blindness to pass him by instead of being in its way.
Yeah, he's got to get out of his own way.
Yeah. Sure. That's as good a thing as any. I'll take it.
All right.
Yeah. But it is, I guess his disorientation too, but it seems like it honestly feels a lot more like, I guess this is a metaphor. It doesn't feel like a thing that a blind person would do. It's I guess this is a metaphor, but it's not good enough of a metaphor to be ooh, it's just very kind of, it's just okay.
I feel a little bit like I'm grasping at straws.
But, I think your explanation is as good as any, though. I think that's probably, that sounds right to me. I think... I don't know. It is the most jarring. I guess that and the puppy in the middle of trench warfare is also, but it's an image. It's definitely an image.
Yeah.
I feel like those two are images, and then the rest of it is just okay.
And then after he gets shot, when he actually goes blind, and you have the series of images laid over on top of each other.
Right. That whole thing, there's that feels like images, and then the train tracks are, that is a stark image. I feel like that is one of the few things I would remember from this movie. But not a lot other than that really stands out at all. There's not, I don't think I would ever flash to anything else in this movie but those two segments. But yeah, I don't know. What else is there to talk about this movie?
I feel bad because it's Ingmar Bergman, and we're just kind of like,
Yeah,
even like on other podcasts that I like to listen to, like Film Spotting, they do film marathons, and they've done a Bergman marathon, and I'm pretty sure this film was not on it.
Okay, how long are they marathons usually? Are they like highlights?
They'll watch like 8 or 9 films or something from a director.
Oh wow!
Or a genre.
This didn't even make it to that long of a
No,
list.
I don't think.
I guess 8 or 9. I don't know how many. He's probably done enough that. Yeah.
Well, he's done better films.
It's definitely This is not. It's just very unmemorable.
It's hard, right? Because it's not an objectively bad film,
right?
It's not. If you you can watch it for free on YouTube. There are worse ways you could spend an afternoon,
right?
But
it seems like a competent director that's not competent yet. But like, if he was not a competent, like a director that knew what he was doing, then it would be more memorable because you could see all the like dumb things of this director coming out, but even in more of a raw form and early. But you're like, oh yeah, this seems like someone that eventually will make good movies.
Right,
but it's
right.
Like he's not doing it yet, but it will happen. It seems like it'll happen.
It's gonna happen. Yeah. There's little flashes of what he would go on to direct. I mean, and the film is shot very well. It's beautiful black and white cinematography. It's gorgeous. I mean, everybody looks amazing. The clothes, the scenery, like it all looks beautiful.
But then a lot of it is just to tell a sort of straightforward story. Mm-hmm. So it's not as like, I think it's more striking when at least it's somewhat more metaphorical.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Like you said, the shots you're going to remember are the train, the puppy, when he goes blind, when he loses his sight. Yeah. Those are the things that are going to stick with you. Well, and some of the shots of Ingrid, because I mean, she's gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous.
But that's like a lot of movies at that time.
Sure.
I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and 40s is like, I love the 40s aesthetic. So that's that's right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. But that's I think so. I mean, it's also just, there's a lot that, it's weirdly a lot happens too. I think that makes it more hard. If it was just one simple idea, I think it would be easier to remember. But it's just, it's also, I felt like I was like, oh, there's a lot that happens. And at the end, I was like, do I even, right after watching, I was like, oh, fuck, do I even remember everything that happens in this movie? Whereas usually at the end of a movie, I can really remember what happened. But I was like trying to think, and I was like, oh, fuck, what happens? Like I'd already started to forget it. So I think that also works against the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it has a nice ending. They, Ben and Ingrid end up getting on that train and just leaving, and they don't really know what's ahead, but they're married. They're married and they have each other.
Yeah, it's like it's The Graduate, but not as depressing.
No, they actually want to be together in the end, and they're like, we made the right decision.
And also The Graduate came how many years later?
Yes,
definitely not going off of The Graduate because it had not been a movie yet. But it is. I thought the ending was sweet. I like that they were just like, we decided love conquers all. I mean, which obviously is a silly trope that's not very revolutionary to do. It's kind of a Hollywood ending as well. But I don't know, sometimes with disabled characters, I'm like, disabled characters should be able, especially like turn of the century stuff. I mean, this is not turn of the century, but like in the first half of the 20th century, there's a lot of like, basically, I mean, eugenics and like telling disabled people that they shouldn't get married and that it's wrong, and like a lot of really, really fucked up shit with that. So like, it's kind of, I'm like, oh, that's nice that they fucking were like, no, we're gonna get married.
Exactly. This is story of two people who are struggling to find what they want, and in the end, what they want or need is each other. Yeah. To have a good life. Two halves of the same puzzle. Coin or whatever. Yeah, exactly. One of the sides says Braille in Braille. Yes. And the other side is a beautiful 40s face. Perfect. That's, yes, exactly. Totally summed it up. Yeah.
Music in Darkness. I don't know. I think that's a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we did it.
Yes. Do you want to go first with your blindness security?
Sure. I'm gonna give this a 2200.
Nice.
It would be a little lower, but I think the fact that Ingmar Bergman directed it is keeping it a little higher. Despite everything they had to go through, I did like Ben and Ingrid's relationship.
Yeah.
That relationship was definitely something that was keeping me interested in what was going on in the movie. And it was, I don't want to say like it was nice to watch Ben struggle, because it's not nice, but it was nice to not watch a Mary Sue or a Gary Sue type character who could just, has everything going, and he still has his problems to work out, and yet, all of a sudden he's a gifted musician. So
whatever.
What do I know? What do I know?
Did you know all blind people are just by default
brilliant
musicians?
Right, we're all great musicians.
The second we touch an instrument, we are already
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I play like 5 instruments. So
yeah, me too.
It's great. It's all good. Yeah, I think 2200 is fine.
Yeah.
It's it's there. It exists. Go check it out.
Yeah, it's a bootlegged, I think, copy, but it's all on YouTube.
For a bootleg, it's not bad, though.
It's really not bad. Yeah. I'm gonna give it a 2100. Though I kind of disagree with most everything you said.
Okay.
So I think I just have a slightly. I think it could have. I was definitely actually expecting it to be worse too, because I like the description is like he makes it sound like he just becomes more of an asshole about how he's blind and can't get over the fact that he's blind, and and then he loses his friends is kind of what it sounded like from the description of the movie, and that's not what the movie is. I think that it is, like what we were saying about them getting married, and that he's just he's struggling. I felt like there was in the beginning a lot of him kind of being I'm blind and doing that whole thing that I do find kind of obnoxious. I never really fully clicked in with him, so I think that made it harder. I think the fact that it's so forgettable just makes it feel kind of like there's less of a blind character when I, as a blind person, don't really remember that much, because it's not like anything I was like, I think for me there wasn't that much that I was like, oh yeah, that's something that happened to me, other than like trying to learn Braille at the same time, but that was very situational as I was watching the movie. I think you just never really had a lot of stuff to fully understand his character, I think, and so that made it harder for me to really click into him. There's some fun images in the movie, but yeah, also I guess the one thing is I'll say, if you're gonna go blind through an accident saving a puppy in the middle of war, it's not, I guess it's a pretty fine way.
It's a pretty good way to go.
Yeah, it's better than playing around with grenades and one of them going off or something. Oh yeah, or the chemicals that made Daredevil.
Yeah.
Superpowered. I think that's what I think. The dog in trench warfare, the puppy in trench warfare, is my favorite going blind story so far in this podcast. So.
Oh, I love it. How did you go blind? There was this. I've already done this bit, but yeah.
yeah, it is. I love it. But yeah, so that's. I think that we can close the book on this movie.
Sure, or the piano cover.
Yeah,
if
I
you
was
will.
thinking that, and I was gonna say it, but then I was like, nah. But you said it, so it's cool.
Oh, also, I did chuckle at the fact that one of Ben's many "I'm sad" scenes, he plays "Moonlight Sonata" by Beethoven, which is like everybody's favorite "I'm sad" piece of music to play.
Well, what are we doing next week, Melissa?
Well. I don't know. I thought we'd piggyback off of our blind musician friend and finally do Ray.
Oh yes, there's blind men, I feel like only have the option to be musicians.
I know, right? I've known my fair share of blind musicians. So yeah. But I've always wanted to see Ray, and it's just been sitting on the back burner forever. So I might as well give it a try. It is
told you at some point.
Yeah, it's streaming on HBO Max right now.
Cool.
So you can watch it there. Buckle up. It is 2.5 hours.
Oh.
This is probably going to be one of our longest movies.
And we're recording on Monday and then on Thursday.
I know. I'm so sorry. This is a really quick turnaround. But
yeah. Well, I'll have much more freshly watched Ray because I'll be watching it on Wednesday for sure.
Me too. Yes. Yes.
So I'm excited to do that. I'm looking forward to seeing that movie or talking about it because I don't know. I have no idea what to think, if it'll be good or not. So we'll find out. We'll have to do some. We'll the Miracle Worker episode. We'll have to actually do some legit research.
Yes,
on an actual human being.
Yeah, I'm going to be listening to a lot of Ray Charles in the next 2 days.
Well, yeah, I guess that's its own kind of research for the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I also love jazz, so that's fun research. That research takes no effort at all.
Yeah, and hopefully the songs will be public domain for some of them. Maybe. Ooh. I don't know. We'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll figure it out. What were we blindsided by?
Right.
I can go first.
Go for it.
I was blindsided by this week the film that's actually out in theaters, if you can go to them, because I saw it in the theater, called Limbo, which is...
Oh, you saw it!
Yes.
Okay.
I saw it this last weekend.
Oh, lovely.
Or I guess this weekend ago. Whatever.
Yeah.
It is a movie about refugees from a bunch of different countries who are all kind of in limbo, hence the name of the movie, waiting for their basically UK visas to get approved, and so they're just in this very, very rural town where they're half the population is this small community of refugees in the highlands of Scotland. It snows a lot there, which I was I forgot it snowed so much in Scotland. I think of it as being more rainy than anything. But it is very there's some very funny stuff in it. It is basically people in limbo, as the title says. It's a very, so it's kind of, the pacing is sort of slow, but there is some pretty, I think, just memorable, the teachers they have for, they have little learning of how to be citizens, I guess, classes, and so they'll have these scenes where you just see the most ridiculous things that they're doing in the class, and just for those, I feel like those are worth the price of admission. They kind of reminded me of the Lobster sequences, where they're oh, the couple, this is what it's like to be a couple. It reminds me of that, but I kind of like these even more. They're just very weird, but it's a sweet movie, and it also felt weirdly emotionally correct for coronavirus and the last year and a half. Just that feeling of being in limbo in general felt I was oh yeah, shit, that's what we've been doing for a year. So even though I think the film takes place a few years ago, I mean, it obviously doesn't take place during COVID, but it still has almost a weird, very similar vibe because it's a similar situation to what we've all been in. So that's Limbo. You can see it at your local 50% occupancy theater or whatever you're at in your local.
I'm guessing you saw that at Living Room, right?
Yeah,
so
I did.
It's playing.
Yeah, so you can see it if you're in the Portland area, you can see it at the Living Room theater, though I haven't checked to see if you might not be able to anymore. I'm not sure.
You can.
If it's still there. Okay.
Trust me.
Can you in 2 weeks?
I don't know about 2 weeks, but I know you definitely can this week.
Okay. So, but people won't be hearing this until
true.
in a week and a half. So
Never mind.
You may be able to see it when we're recording. We don't know yet if we'll be there, but yeah, it should be in some theater somewhere.
Well, I really want to check it out.
Yeah,
that sounds like fun.
What were you blindsided by this week?
So mine is a book I've actually brought that I was blindsided by. I was peeping around in our local bookstore. Well, we have a lot of them. I was peeping around in Powell's.
Yeah.
As you do. And I ended up in the kind of new agey pagan section, as you do.
Of course.
And I found this book called The Language of Flowers by Odessa Begay. And the subtitle is A Guide to the Meanings, Messages, Lore, and Language of Flowers for New Romantics.
Ooh.
And it is exactly what it says it is. The book itself is beautiful. The author has illustrated it all with these gorgeous watercolor paintings of each flower. Nice. And they're lovely. But the actual book is really, really fun. So there's like 55, 60 flowers in the book that she goes over. And she talks about where the flower originally came from, when it was brought over to the UK or US, basically brought over to the West, what the flower is used for, what it means in the Victorian language of flowers, how it got that meaning.
Nice.
There's different little parts like in literature where the flower is mentioned, mythology, folklore, lore. All that type of things. So I've been just really enjoying. I love trivia of any kind. I love and this basically is a book full of plant trivia. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's been really fun learning about pretty flowers and things like dahlias originally came from Central America and Mexico. They were cultivated by the Aztecs and other indigenous people. And they would actually use the flower they use every part of the flower for tea and medicine and everything, but they would also eat the tubers that grew from the dahlia. So they would eat those little like potato-y tuber things.
That's so cool.
It's really fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's definitely piqued my appreciation for flowers.
Nice. I just by the fact of who I'm dating, I've learned a lot about plants and flowers recently, but I think he would probably enjoy that book as well. But I had never really thought about how much there is to learn about plants and flowers.
So much.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, and what they all stand for, like Alaska's flower, my flower, state flower, for the forget-me-not stands for true love.
Oh.
Yeah.
The forget-me-not, yeah, I guess that's thematic. What's the Oregon flower, do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I will look it up though, because I bet.
Yeah, Melissa, you're supposed to come with that info.
I know. Me, the trivia queen. I bet you it's in there though.
Did you ever have to do state projects in 5th grade where you had to present about a state?
Yeah.
And like literally everyone would be like, "This is a state bird. This is a state flower." And they would just like do a laundry list. That's like the only time you will ever hear about what state things are.
Is it? Oregon's flower isn't the poppy, is it? No, that doesn't sound right.
We need a fact checker.
I will have to look this up.
Well, tune in next week for.
Yeah, I'll tell you what Oregon State flower is. Yeah. What the book says about it.
So what's the name of the book again?
Right, the book is called The Language of Flowers, and it's written by Odessa Begay.
So if you want to be fluent in multiple languages,
right,
that's one more that you can be fluent in. Our theme song is by Lucia Fasano. Our YouTube is Citizen White Cane Podcast. Our Twitter is White Cane Pod. Our Facebook and our Instagram are both Citizen White Cane. If you'd like to send us an email, you can send it to citizenwhitecanepod@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voice message, there's a link in the show notes. Do you know what Oregon State flower is? I mean, first off,
we want to know. That's really important right now.
Yeah, we really care about that a lot.
Do you have a desire to get on a train with your significant loved one and just go?
Yeah,
anywhere, somewhere.
And do you...
Would you save a puppy if it meant going blind?
Ooh, yes, definitely that. Just please tell us.
Yes.
We would like to know blind or puppy. That's because people are like, would you rather be blind or deaf? But really, it's like, would you let a puppy die
Would you
and go blind?
Exactly.
Because that's the real... I mean, I would definitely go blind, but, I'm biased.
I'm already halfway there, so, why not?
Yeah. I love puppies.
Puppies are great. Save all the puppies.
But we'd love to know what your thoughts are. Link in the show notes to send us a voice message. And come back next week. We're going to do Ray. Mm-hmm. A ray of sunshine, I guess. We'll find out. See you then. Bye.
Bye.